Hey, it's me. So I made a community post asking you guys what you wanted to see for Modern Warfare 2022, and I got a bunch of good comments, so I wanted to go over them as well as give my opinions on what I want to see. I got into it a little bit in my last video, towards the end of it, but I wanted to go a little more in depth and also get you guys involved, see what you guys think. Anyway, no bullshit, let's just hop right in. So the first comment here comes from Hayden Beld. He says, a good game, and honestly, man, you can't really go much better than that. Like, yeah, man, at the end of the day, we just want a good game. Like, I just want a fun game to play that I can dump hours to and lose my life to. Very simple, but well put. This next comment comes from Azeroth. He says, just 3-lane maps. Yeah, I mean, the game can definitely benefit from some more traditional map design. I don't want them to go like the Cold War route where most of the maps are just like really simplistic and basic. Not terrible maps, boring ones, in my opinion at least. Definitely stick to the 3-lane structure a lot more. This next comment comes from Matthew Popescu. I'm sorry if I butchered that last name, but he says, better map and game mode variety at launch. Pro perks are actually something I want to see return, even if they're severely nerfed for balance purposes. Obligatory ghost only active while moving, but I want dead silence to only be a field upgrade and just make overall footstep audio loud only while tack sprinting. And lastly, for the devs to not half-ass the Gunsmith like Treyarch did. As for campaign, the only thing I want them to do is make the plot and villains a lot more compelling, as I felt that was the only weak part of Modern Warfare 2019's campaign. Yeah, so a couple things to dive into here. Biggest issue that Call of Duty has at the moment is, especially for the last 3 games, is that there isn't a lot of modes that come out at launch to play. They pretty much have like 6 or 7 of the basic staple modes that Call of Duty usually has, like TDM, Domination, Kill Confirm, Free for All, Search and Destroy, and really not much else. Because that's the thing, Call of Duty used to launch with insane amount of game modes. Take Modern Warfare 2 for example. That game had an incredible amount of modes to play at launch. It had TDM, and then it had Mercenary TDM where it was solo players only. It also had Express TDM where the lobby timer would only be like 10-15 seconds, so the matches would just start quicker. Then you had some extra game modes like Team Tactical, which was more competitive focused. Then they had like Capture the Flag, Sabotage, Headquarters. They had the Ground War mode, which is 9v9. It had the third-person Team Tactical mode. I don't know if you guys remember that mode, but that mode was absolutely goated, and my friends and I had a shit ton of fun playing that from time to time. Also had some bare bones modes. There was a lot to play right at launch, and I just wish they'd go back to that philosophy of giving a shit ton of modes at launch, just so there's more and more to play right out the gate. I would actually, also one more thing, does anyone remember the modded mode from Modern Warfare 2, Global Thermonuclear War? I don't know if that was like an official game mode or like a modded thing, but I would love to see that back. And also, can we get Sabotage back? Can we please get Sabotage back? Sabotage was an absolutely goated mode, and I miss it so much. Also, Demolition. I can't forget Demolition. Demolition, please. They keep popping into my head every single time that I mention a new mode. Can we get some party modes too? Modern Warfare 2019 ended up adding some party modes into the quick play filter. I think it has Gun Game and Infected. I really like Gun Game and Infected in Modern Warfare. I think they're actually really good modes in that game. So, I mean, I would love to have some party modes at launch too. He also mentions pro perks. I would be intrigued by, because pro perks are just an extra thing to grind for in the game, just extra incentive to do so, and it rewarded you for using a perk and using its strengths. I don't really see a negative side to having pro perks in the game, so I would love to see that return. And then, of course, Ghost only active while moving. He also says that he wants Dead Silence to be a field upgrade again, and I do like the idea behind it, because having Dead Silence as a field upgrade kind of opened up the perk variety a little bit, because what I noticed a lot, when Dead Silence is just a perk that you select, it's a crutch perk. Everyone runs it, and whatever slot it's in, the other perks go unused for most of the time, unless you pair it against other strong perks. But in the past, it hasn't really happened that much. So I like the idea behind it being a field upgrade. I like the experiment. The only problem was that in Modern Warfare 2019 especially, the footsteps were just so loud and made so much noise, and it was super easy to pinpoint exactly where an enemy was coming from, and that made Dead Silence a crutch field up. Overall footstep audio louder only while tack sprinting, which I think is a good change. Like, you know, keep the footstep audio relatively quieter and then just have it increase as your tack sprint. This is a good comment because he touches on a lot of things I actually wanted to talk about. Fucking great comment, man. This next comment comes from my friend Saad. He says, I'd like to see a video game that isn't constructed by meth head Bob the Builders and is something that's legitimately polished, playable, and again, not developed by dogshit AAA. I totally agree with you. A lot of AAA developers kind of suck nowadays. You know, it's more about the profit and not about the game. I would love to see that changed. Unfortunately, we have no control over it. And the only way that it is to control it is we stop giving them money. Once the money stops, maybe then there'll be a change. This next comment comes from Matej Benkovic. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Expanded Gunsmith. No fictional guns, but some guns that are not really known. Balanced mix of 3-lane maps and maze maps. Hard but not frustrating camo grind. Shipment early on. Longer campaign in a good PvE mode. I don't think we'll have a problem with fictional guns. It's a modern Call of Duty game, and Infinity Ward makes by far the most realistic games in the series, so I don't think they'll go the ridiculous route with guns that don't exist. I would love to see some lesser known weapons in the game as well. One gun that I would love to see in Call of Duty, it's one of my favorite from the Battlefield series, is the A91. I absolutely love using that carbine in that game. And yes, I would love to see a mix of 3-lane and maze maps. I want map variety, essentially. I don't want every single map to feel the exact same, play the exact same. I want a little more map variety, and I think Modern Warfare 2019 did a relatively decent job at that. Obviously, there's some stinkers of maps, but I feel like the variety was good in that game. I felt every single map played relatively different from each other. Each one had like a unique vibe. As long as they stick to a little more traditional map design and they speed up the game's pace overall, I feel like having more variety in map design would be a great thing. And he talks about the camo grind. I just don't want it to be egregious. Just if you want to make it long, you want to make it tedious, that's fine. Just don't make me do stupid fucking challenges. Like, don't make me do fucking 100 headshots with specific attachments. Don't make me get fucking kills behind cover, point blank. Don't do any of that dumb shit that's just fucking tedious. And this is the thing I want to point out, a good PvE mode. This game desperately needs a good PvE mode. Modern Warfare Spec Ops was a travesty at launch. And once they did a bunch of fixes, it was just average at best. It needs another mode for you to sink time in that's actually engaging and fun. And from the leaks that I've seen, it's apparently supposed to be like a DMZ type thing, similar to Tarkov. I've never played Tarkov, but I've seen some gameplay. And if they can pull that off as a third mode in a Call of Duty game and make it fun and interesting and engaging, and also something that people would actually like to watch, that's very important to me as well. That would be great. This comment comes from Marcelio Jr. He says the end of annual releases, which would be fucking great, which is something that Call of Duty desperately needs. I feel like the annual release does nothing but negatively impact the game because these games come out super rushed, unfinished every single year, and it's just overall affecting the health of the game. So absolutely no downside to giving the developers more time to work on the game. The most important thing though is you got to make the game good enough to last 2 years. I felt like Modern Warfare 2019 was good enough for 2 years. If you're into Treyarch games, definitely Cold War was built for 2 years. Vanguard, I'm probably going to be done with at the end of its life cycle, but that's besides the point. Just make the game good enough to last 2 years, and if you can do that, fucking whoop-de-doo. This comment comes from Harold Quake, and it's interesting because he actually just lists some maps that he wants to come back. Strike, Crash, Backlot, Vacant, District from COD 4, and all Modern Warfare 2 remastered multiplayer maps, plus good original maps for 66, 10v10, and Ground War. The main thing I want to take away from this comment is obviously remastered maps are going to happen. It's a Call of Duty game in 2022. There's going to be remastered maps. They do it every single year, but if they're going to do it, I want to see different maps to come back. Because first of all, why the fuck was High Rise and Terminal not in Modern Warfare 2019? Why? Why would they do that? I get they remake Terminal every year, but Terminal is a top 3 map of all time. And High Rise is the best map of all time. Dude, I'm just picturing it in my head right now. Terminal and High Rise 10v10. Oh. But yeah, please, at least those 2 maps. One map that I really want to see back is Black Box from Modern Warfare 3. Does anyone remember this map at all? I fucking loved this map back in the day. I would love to see Bayview and Strike Zone from Ghosts. Just give us maps that you wouldn't think to bring back, but when you do, we go, oh shit. That's cool. Remaster some of the forgotten ones. You know, that would be great. This comment comes from Smiley Face. You don't have a name, but it's a smiley face, so I'm just going to call you Smiley Face. Better map design, slower TTK, lower footstep audio, combat pacing. Ghost should only work when moving. Also, please don't make snipers trash like Vanguard. Very simple, straight to the point. Here's the thing. When it comes to Modern Warfare's map design, I actually don't think it's terrible. It's obviously not the greatest. I think the biggest issue with Modern Warfare was I thought they were decent maps. It's just they were too big for 6v6. When you go and play 10v10 in Modern Warfare, a lot of those maps are way better, which is what he also added in. Combat pacing. I made this point in my last video, but I'll definitely hit on it again. Combat pacing is an incredible addition to the game. Say what you want about Vanguard, but you cannot deny how good of a feature combat pacing is. You get to select exactly how your gameplay experience is. If they want to make maps like Modern Warfare 2019, just putting more fucking players on the map and creating more chaos, that's good enough for me. Also, you mentioned slower TTK. I would definitely increase the TTK a little bit. As long long as it's not Black Ops 4 and Cold War TTK, I'm totally fine with it. Maybe like a Black Ops 2 TTK would be nice. Even like a Modern Warfare 3. Not too fast, but not way too slow. Also, I don't have any worries about snipers in Modern Warfare. The snipers in Modern Warfare 2019, they were really powerful. They were somewhat slower, but you could build them fast. And then you had the marksman rifles, which were just fucking cheese machines. I still think the Mark II carbine is one of the most fun guns to ever use in Call of Duty. As long as they make them usable and fit in the game's sandbox, fine by me. This comment comes from Elite Snake Eyes. He says, I hope the WA 2000 returns in this title. I love that gun since OG Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops. I think it would be interesting to have in the game, especially with how you could kit out the gun. Anyone remember the RSAS from Modern Warfare 3? The RSAS was the coolest fucking sniper rifle on the planet. I could imagine just taking that thing into the gunsmith, putting on a long barrel, a big ass suppressor with like a 2x scope and shit, and just fucking using it as a DMR. That shit would be so much fun. I really featured that comment just so I could talk about the RSAS, so I'm sorry about that. I used that as an excuse. I hope you forgive me, Elite Snake Eyes. I really hope you forgive me. This comment comes from Tanner Dodge. He says, a stealth mission in the campaign that doesn't end in explosions everywhere, just to mix things up for once. He makes a good point because a lot of Call of Duty campaigns nowadays are just explosion upon explosion, Michael Bay action. I'll use this comment to talk about what I want for campaign. Modern Warfare 2019 did a relatively decent job of keeping the gameplay interesting. It had missions like the embassy mode. People were storming the embassy. It was really hectic, really tight. And then you had that one section in that mission where you had to guide that person to safety, which was really interesting. They switched up the pacing for that mission. And then you had fucking Clean House, which was easily a top 5 Call of Duty mission. I just remember how tense it was when I was playing it for the first time. Just then you had Going Dark, where you're going into the mansion and you had so many options and so many different ways to play it. You could shoot out lights, you could go completely undetected. Just so cool, man. Like such a cool level design. And that's pretty much just what I want to see in Modern Warfare 2's campaign. I just want to see variety in the level design. And lastly, this comment comes from XL Basic. He says, hopefully they expand upon the gunsmith just like with Vanguard. The thing about Vanguard and Cold War is a lot of the attachments are copy paste, and I'm hoping the same thing doesn't happen. They have a lot of potential with it if they actually try. I saved this for last because I feel like Gunsmith is the most important thing when it comes to Call of Duty nowadays. The Gunsmith is a very integral part of the game now. When you compare the 3 games, I feel like Modern Warfare did it the best. While it wasn't perfect and some of the attachments weren't balanced properly, allowed you to have the most freedom when it came to attachment selection. There was give and take when it came to creating your class. You had to make conscious decisions on what to use. If you wanted to trade recoil control and range and accuracy for mobility and quick ADS speeds, you could do that, and you could do it vice versa. Get insane amount of recoil control, but you really slow your character down. There was like a lot of thought process that went into building your class. And Modern Warfare 2019 did a great job of making every single weapon feel unique. Every single gun had its own relatively unique attachment tree with attachments specific to just the weapon, which gave more of a reason to use a lot of the gun. When it comes to Cold War and Vanguard, Cold War literally copy pasted every single attachment for every single gun, and the exact same setup worked on every single gun, and it just did not make for interesting gameplay. People only used the best guns in the game with the best setup, and everything else just couldn't compare. And then when you have Vanguard's gunsmith is just so batshit ridiculous that I just find it funny and entertaining. For longevity of the game, it doesn't really make much sense because there's no risk, there's no thought process when it comes to building guns in Vanguard. You can just slap on an attachment for every single fucking slot and not have to worry about it. If they take Modern Warfare 2019 Gunsmith and do some balancing changes, make some of the lesser used attachments in Modern Warfare 2019 better, the game's customization could be off the wall this year. Anyway, that's it. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to comment on that post. I really loved reading through your comments. I love when I sit down and I get to do this kind of video. I know it's been a little bit. I'll make sure to make some more community posts. Make sure to stay tuned for those because I want to do more of these videos. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like on it. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're new around here, subscribe. I post mostly Call of Duty content, mix other games in here and there. And if you're into that kind of thing, this channel's for you, man. So if you enjoyed this video, want to see more videos from me, make sure to hit the subscribe button, man. I would greatly appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, that's it, guys. Take care. See ya.